Samba share. Today we will see Samba share. Now Samba means we use Windows, we use sharing file system in Linux machine. So if you want to share the file system with Linux to Linux, we actually use NFS. We use NFS network file system, and we use this to share a directory or share a data, share a storage from one Linux machine to other Linux machine. Now, if we want to exchange, we want to share the data, share the storage from Windows, from Linux machine. Suppose this is our Linux machine, and we have other machine as Windows, and we want to do the sharing between Linux to Windows. Then we configure the Samba, and this is what Samba share. Now, in Windows, they don't use NFS protocol to share the data or share the storage. In Windows, for sharing the data or sharing the storage, in Windows machine they use SMB protocol. SMB means server message block. So they use server message block to share the data from one Windows machine to other Windows machine. In simple configuration, they use workgroup environment, where in a workgroup environment, all the domain or the machines are the administrator, and they exchange the share one to other. One to other, that means if suppose we have the other Windows machine here, and if these window machine want to access any share from the other machine, for example, here we have one share directory here, we have one share directory here. So it has been shared from this server, and this machine wants to use this. So it will access this through the SMB protocol. It will send the request for the share. Then this machine, this hosting machine will do what? It will ask for the authentication for the user accounts, that which user account you want to access. That will be the local account for this system. And if it is allowed, if it is giving, this machine is giving right username and password, then it will get the access for that share. It is a simple work group environment where every machine is a domain as an administrator, and they are sharing. They are just together. They are into the same group only for doing the sharing. Now, in this kind of environment, every machine can be a server and every machine can be a client. That means when this machine is accessing the share from this server, so this machine will become as a server because it is serving the share, and this machine will act as a client because it is using the share. In a complex environment in Windows, we configure the domain environment where the domain controller will be there, and that domain controller will handle all the authentication things. Like if suppose this user wants to access the share for this machine, so this machine will ask the administrator, this machine will ask that which authentication you want to access. Then the user, from this machine user will provide the authentication of domain user, and that machine will verify the domain user account by from the domain controller, and domain controller say yes, this account is verified and it is authenticated. Then this machine give the access to this other machine for this share. Now in this environment we have domain controller which is handling the authentication related things, and sharing will be done by this servers or this machine, and it will call as a server because it is serving the share. Now in Linux environment, we use NFS to share the directory from one Linux machine to other Linux machine. Now Windows don't use the NFS, they use the SMB protocol. But nowadays in Windows servers, we have an option to share the NFS data directories storage with NFS only for sharing. That means if you are having a Windows Server 2012 or Windows Server 2016, then we can create a directory, we can create a share for NFS protocol, and that share will not be accessible on Windows machines. It is created for the Linux machine. Like if the Linux machine is also a member of that domain, then that Linux machine can use this NFS share from that Windows server. But from client to client it is not available. Now if suppose we have this Windows 10 machine here, and we want to access any share folder from Linux machine, or if Linux machine wants to access any share from this Windows machine, then they don't do NFS. So what, Linux machine, from Linux machine we have to configure the SMB, because in Windows 10 we don't have NFS, but we can do what, we can configure the SMB protocol in Linux system. So Windows will not use NFS, but Linux can use SMB. So for configuring this SMB we use this Samba, it is called Samba. So we use the Samba packages or Samba application, we can say, which is used to configure the SMB protocol in Linux, so that we can exchange, we can do the sharing with Linux machine to Windows machine. So we can configure the Samba, we can configure the Samba server. That means this Linux machine will act as a Samba server, and it will use the SMB protocol to share the directories, share the data storage from here, from the Linux machine, that which we can use on Windows machine. Now how we can configure this? So for configuring we have to install the packages on the Linux system, and that packages names are the Samba. In Linux system we have many names as the animals, as the different animals basically. So this name is also coming from that animal name, that is Samba. So it is given a Samba name, but it is used to do what? It is used to configure the SMB protocol in Linux system, so that we can do the sharing between Windows and Linux. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. Now this is our Linux server, and from here we want to share a directory with Windows 10. So what I will do here, first thing which I need is the package requirement. So first I have to make sure the package is installed here, and that package name is Samba. So I have configured the yum server, so I can check by yum, and if we have not configured the yum, then we can go on to check by the RPM command. Now it is saying that the Samba package is already installed, so we don't need to install it. But if it is not installed, then we can install it. Right now the Samba package, this is the main package which we want to install. Then we have Samba client. This Samba client package is actually give you some Samba client tools that use to access the share from Windows machine or any other Samba server. That means if you want to access a share from the Windows machine, so this package will give you the tools which you can use to access the share from Windows machine or even from the other Samba server. So this is the main base package we have, and one more package we have for this is Samba common. This is also required for the Samba configuration. So these two packages are important, and these client packages are for client accessing the client, for accessing the Samba share from Windows machine or from Linux machine. Now all those packages are installed. These packages which is available, it is showing, it is actually 32-bit packages. These are 32-bit packages, and then these are some WinBind packages. WinBind is used to do the different thing, that is actually joining the domain. So the main packages which we need is this Samba and also Samba common. If you want client tools, then you can go on to install the client also. Now if it is not installed, then you will run the command Samba install yum install Samba, and we can put a star to install all the packages which we need, and I will say yes. So it is going to install what is not installed right now, but that packages we don't require. So when you run this command, it is going to install all the packages. I'm using the yum server for this, so it is installing with dependencies. If you have not configured the yum, then you can go on to select the you can go on to install with the RPM command. So this is the packages which was installed, which actually we don't need, and with that it is installed these dependencies. Okay, now the packages are installed, so let's see the important files which comes with these packages which is required for us. So first, this is the main package, that is Samba. So when you check this, so you will see these lots of things, lots of files are there. Let's see what files are there. So from the beginning, it is having these configuration files here. Then these are for the schema, these are for the different configuration. We have these commands to check the SMB status, and these are the main services we have, SMB and NMB. These are the two services, these are the two important, these are the two services for the Samba. So if you want to configure and run the server, then we have to make sure these two services are running, NMB and SMB. Then we have these library files are there, these are two commands are there. Then these are the documentations, man pages documentation, and this is the where pool directory for pooling. Now it is not showing the main configuration file because it comes with the other package that is called common, and that is why I told you that these two packages are important for configuring the Samba. So with Samba common, what we get here is these configuration files, and among that this is the main configuration file. So if we want to configure anything, so we have to just configure it into this configuration file. Then it has these man pages, these are the it has the commands also, and these are the man pages there, and these are the directories for the library, and this is the directory for the log files, and log old file is also there, and these are some run directories created. So this is the main files, these is the important files we have. Now I want to share the directory. So first I will do what, I will create one directory for sharing. So mkdir, and I will create one directory, let's say SMB share, and I will put some data into this. So I will go there and I will touch some files there. Let's say file 1, file 2, file 3. So we have these 3 files there, and this is the directory which we want to share. Now for sharing the directory, we have to make sure the configuration, we want to change the, we have to change the configuration first, and in the configuration file we have to add the configuration for this directory sharing. So we'll open the main configuration file, and I will go through with the detailed information, like go through the brief information about the configuration file, what configurations we have. So first I'll open this smb.conf. This is the main configuration file. Now this file is heavily commented, that means you can see a lot of comments are there, and specifically you can see the comments related to the you can see the comment section related to SE Linux. So if our SE Linux is running and it is working in enforcing mode, then it will do lots of things. It will do block lots of things, like it will not allow the users to access their home directory. Then when you create any directory, so it must have this label on it, otherwise it is not going to share, it is not going to allow it to access by SMB, it is not allow it to access from the remote location. So we have to make sure the label is correct, and the booleans are also enabled or disabled to decide the policies. So this is heavily commented here, and it is also showing other information about the SE Linux which we should configure for the different requirements. Now first we have the global settings here. Now under the global setting, this is the global section which is enabled by default. Now this is the default configuration. We have not changed till now, we have not changed anything, but we are going to change and we are going to allow it. So this is the global section, and in the global section the first thing which is decided here is the group name. Now this will be the work group name, because in Windows environment we are either into the work group or we are either into the domain environment. In both cases we have to define the work group name or domain name. So if we are working on the work group, so this machine is also have to be in the same work group, and the work group name must be same as it is configured into the Windows environment. Now by default in Windows machines, those machines goes into those machine default. When you install the Windows machines, they will be in the work group by default, and the name for the work group will always be the work group. But here in Linux system, when you install the SMB Samba, so the work group will be enabled. It is, you can see it is enabled, and the work group name by default it is my group. Now we can change the name so that we can put all the machines in the LAN network to be in the same group. The group name must be same. By default it is my group. You want to change, then we can change also. Now I'm not going to change it. I will go with the default because it is different than the Windows. So in Windows it is going to be work group by default. So we want to make that Windows machine into our group. So we have to change the name of that work group to my group. Or if you want, then you can change the name of the group also. Now this will be the server string. Server string, that means when the this server is going to be accessed from the other machine, other Samba server, other Linux server or Windows machine, then the name for this machine will be shown like this, Samba server version, and this will be the information about the machine. So this will be enabled. Now this is the enable things. Other things are disabled. These are the comments. Now these are the other configurations, but these are also disabled by using this semicolon. These are not comment, these are disabled by using this semicolon. So it is also like this in this Samba configuration file. This semicolon will also act like a comment. So the machine will not read this configuration also. Now if we want to change the workgroup name, then again we can change it on in all capitals. Now why all capitals? Because it is the NetBIOS name. Take it as a NetBIOS name. We can put the server. If it is in the domain, then we can put the domain name also as a NetBIOS, like my server. So if we want to change the name, so we should change it in all capital. I'm not going to change this one. I'm going with the default. Now the next setting here, it is saying that interfaces and the host allow setting. Now host allow setting, that means it depends on the scenario. Let's say interface or host allow. It depends on the scenario that how you want to select this. You want to enable this or not. It depends on the scenario. Now scenario means, for example, this is our Samba server, and if it is connected to two different networks with the two different interfaces, like for example it has one interface here and the other interface also, that means it has two interfaces connected with two different networks. Now in this let's say for example this machine is in this side, it is having the network of 10, that means 10.0.0.1 IP address it has on this interface, and on this interface it is having the IP address of other network, that is 20. This is the network here, so it is having 20.0.0.0.1. Now we have two IP addresses, two networks on both the interfaces. Now if we want to configure only the Samba server for this interface, for this network, not for this network, then what? We will use the host allow option. We will say host allow. We will configure the host allow, and in this section we will mention the network IP of this site. Network IP of this network, that means the network which we want to allow to accept the Samba request, that means the request for the Samba server. Now here we have to mention the network IP, network address. That means if suppose this is class A, so we will mention only the network address, that is 20 dot. In class A you will get only first part as a network. If it is class B address, then we will mention only the first two network part, like for example 172.16 dot. If it is class C, then we will mention the class C network part, like 192 dot. In the first three part will be the network part, so 192.168.1 dot dot. So this is what you have to mention the network part like this. Now in case we have the same topology but the network is same, That means here is 20.0.0.1, and in this side we have the same network IP but different IP 20.0.0.2. Now I want to accept only the request from this interface. I don't want to accept the Samba request from the other interface. Now in this case, that interface option, that interface section I will enable, and in that interface section I will mention the interface address, interface name. That means whatever the interface name of this interface, like ETH0, ETH1, or in RHEL7 we have ENO 166377, whatever. So we have to mention the interface name here, and then we will mention this IP address. So we will mention that I want to accept the request for the Samba only from this interface or this IP address. So it will accept only the request from this side, only from this network, and if anyone try to send the request from this side for Samba share, then it will deny that request. So it depends on the scenario, like what we want to select, either this one or this one. And if you have only one single interface, then you don't have to select these options. You don't have to enable anything else. You can go by the default setting. And this default setting says that disable both the options. So if we want, then we can allow this if we are having multiple interfaces. And you can see the host allow section accepts the network address. Like for example, for class A, we give the first part as a network 127 dot, and if it is class B, class C, then 192.168.12 dot, 192.168.13 dot, and for the interface we give the name of the interface, and then we give the IP address of that interface, like this. So if we want, then we can go on to select this. Then this option is for the Samba version protocol version 2. If you want to enable the protocol version 2, it will go up to protocol version 3 here. But if you want to reduce it, then it will go, you can enable this option. So we have only single interface, so I'm not going to enable this. But if you like, then you can enable this. Like for example, I want to allow only the network from this. So I will disable the, I will remove the comment, and then I will remove these IP addresses. These are not our network. So I will add only our network, that is 19 dot. Or if you want to accept the request from one to locally loopback, then you can add 127 also. Then the next section is for logging options. So here we can see the options are enabled for the log file. So it is going to create the log file in that. This is the size for the log file, maximum size it has decided here. We can change if we want. Then the next section is about the standalone server option. Now this server option is for the standalone server. If you want to configure this machine, this Linux machine, as a standalone server. Now standalone server, that means we want to configure this machine for the work group. For the work group, that means in Windows, you know that all the machines will remain in the work group. So we can configure this machine as a work group machine for the Windows environment. So this will act as a work group machine, and it can do what? It can use the sharing, it can share the directories, and it can also access the directories from Windows machine. Now for configuring our server as a standalone server, our Linux machine as a standalone server, we have to make sure this option, security option, is set to user. That is the default option. Now this option can also be used to configure this Linux server as a domain controller, and that we have here. This is not the section. This is the section for domain controller. And if we want to configure this server as a domain controller for Windows machine, then also we can use security is equal to user. So this option also used to configure this server as a domain controller. Now domain controller means what? In Windows environment we have domain controllers that used to do the authentication and centralized management for all the Windows clients. So if we want this machine to act as a domain controller for Windows clients, that means this server will be a domain controller, and we can make Windows client machine as a client of this domain controller. That means our Windows machines thinks that this is our Windows server, but this is actually a Linux server which is acting like a Windows domain controller for Windows clients. So if we want to use this, then we can use the configuration security is equal to user. Now this one worked as a Windows anti-domain controller. You can read these comments here. It says the security must be set to user for domain controllers, and this pass DB backend, this I will show you what it is. So it is saying this, the domain master specify the domain, it is talking about these other settings, that what these other settings are, like these domain master and domain logon. So these settings must be configured here. So you can use this machine as a domain controller, but it will work as a Windows anti-domain controller. Now anti-domain controller, that means we can make this domain controller for Windows client machine with Windows anti-client machines. We can use to join the machine, we can use to join this machine, this domain controller. We can join Windows XP, we can use Windows 7 also as a member for this domain Linux domain controller. We can, but for using Windows 8 or 10, they don't support it. They don't support to be a member of this Linux domain controller. But we can make the client Windows XP machine a client of this Linux domain controller. We can make even Windows 7 also we can make the member client for this domain controller, Windows domain controller. We have to do some changes in the registry, and we can do that. But here for Windows 8 or Windows 10, it is not possible. It is not allowed. So this security is equal to user is used to configure the server as a workgroup server or as a domain controller for Windows machines, Windows clients. Then we can use this security is equal to, we can use server. Security is equal to, we can use server, or we can use domain, or we can use ADS also. Now this is under the domain members section, and this is used to make this machine a member of the Windows existing domain. That means if suppose we are having the existing domain configured, like Windows domain is configured, there is Windows servers are there, Windows server, and then those Windows servers having the Windows client, that means Windows servers are there, Windows clients are there, totally Windows environment is there, and we want to join this domain, this Linux server as a member in that Windows domain. Then what we can use this setting, we can use the Samba, and we can configure this setting, security setting, as ADS or domain or server. Now domain and server are same, ADS is different. So we can configure this, and we can configure this by using the help of WinBind, Samba WinBind. So with that we can do what? We can make this Linux server a member of the existing Windows domain. Now we do this why? Because suppose the Windows environment is there and Windows administrators wants to configure the web servers. Now web servers are very good in Linux machines, that is Apache web servers. It is very good web servers, open source web servers, which we can do configure. Now if we want to use this they want to use Apache as a web server, and they want to use it, so they have to use it on Linux machine. So sometimes those Windows administrators do what? They want to be they want a Linux machine as a member, Linux server as a member, so that they can configure different applications like web server or any other application for their domain, which is available only on Linux. But they cannot use this machine as a normal machine without adding the domain. They cannot use it, because if they want to give the access to their users, then domain users, then the machine or services or application must be in the boundary of the security boundary of the domain. So they have to join this Linux machine in the domain. So that they can use this configuration, security is equal to ADS or domain or server. Now if you use this security is equal to server or domain, in that case the Active Directory users are not able to log into this Linux server. For logging them to this Linux server, we have to create the same account, local account on this Linux machine. This machine will be in the same security boundary, same in the domain, but the users of the Active Directory, that means the users which we create in the Active Directory domain, those users will not be able to log into the Linux machine. We have to create a separate account for them. Like if suppose there is user 1 and I want the user 1 to should access the application of this Linux, so I have to create the user 1 account here on this Linux server. Now if you don't want that, then we can configure security is equal to ADS. Now in this, the Active Directory users can log into this Linux machine. They can use the application, they can use the services from the Linux machine, and they can use it by using the same Active Directory account which they use to access any other thing in the Active Directory domain. So it actually do what? It creates the trust relationship between the Windows domain and this Linux machine. It is called as a realm trust in Windows environment. Realm trust. So it configures the trust and it uses this to access the resources of this Linux machine within the domain. So this machine will become the member of the domain. Now those options are not enabled, only this option is enabled by default, that is security is equal to user, and that is available under the standalone section. So it is used as a standalone server, as a work group machine, so that they can share and they can use to share the machine, share the data from other Linux workgroup machines. Now the other option is passdb backend file, and that is tdb sam file. Now this file is required to have a database of users authentication. In Windows environment, when you want to authenticate someone, user information, so user information, that means username and password, those information stored into the SAM file. It is called SAM file. SAM file means security account manager file. That SAM file located under the Windows C drive, Windows directory. It is located under the system32 directory, config directory. So there is a directory where the SAM file is there. So whenever any user try to authenticate, the machine checks the file and checks the file for username and password. Now in Windows, in Linux machine, the structure for the user authentication or user information is different. It is different, and the way of encrypting or hashing the passwords, that is also different. In Linux machine, we store users password informations are stored into the shadow file. In the shadow file, and it uses the different encryption. It uses the SHA 512. It uses SHA 512 encryption hashing algorithm to hash the password for users. If you see that other file, I'll show you in the other terminal. So under the etc there is a shadow file, and in the shadow file it uses to store the username. So these are the usernames here, and this is the password hash for that users, and this is hashed by using the SHA 512 bit. We can see the configuration for the users related. We can see by using the logged in definitions, and we can see the information about the users, that when we create the users, these are the minimum and maximum UIDs and GIDs for the system users. These are the password configurations, minimum and maximum days and all that. This is for the GID configuration, and if you see, these are the UMask, home directories will be created, and encryption method is used is SHA 512 bit. So this is the encryption used in Linux environment, in a Linux machine. But in Windows machine it is different. In Windows machine it uses to store the passwords in SAM file, which is located in the C Windows System 32 config directory. And in Windows it uses NTLM version 2. This is the hashing algorithm it uses to hash the password of users. Now what is the problem here? If suppose when we configure, when you want to access the share of this Linux machine from the Windows system, then what happened? This is Windows server, this is Linux server, Samba server, and suppose this is our Windows server, Windows machine here, a client machine. Now if you are sitting here and the share you have created on these Samba machine, and you send the request to access the share to the Samba machine. Now this Samba server will say what? It will say who are you and what is your credential authentication. It will ask for the authentication, that what is your username and password. You want to access the share, then who are you, what is your username and password. Now username and password must be from the Samba server. So for example, the Samba server has a username called user1 and the password is 123 for example. So when you try to access the share, so this Samba server will say give me your authentication, give me your username and password. Now this Windows machine will do what? From here what we will do, we will type the username as u1 and we'll type the password as 123. Now what it will do here, this Windows machine will hash the password in Windows style. Now in Windows style, that means it will use the NTLM protocol, NTLM version 2 to hash the password, and then it will send that information to this this Linux server. Now remember, Linux server uses a different way of storing the password. So username will be the same, but the password will be hashed with the SHA algorithm here in Linux system and stored into the shadow file. Now the Windows machine is sending the username and password hashed as a NTLM version 2. Now that will not be recognized here under the Samba server, under the Linux server. It will not match with this hash, what is the hash Windows machine sending, and you will not get the access because you are not going to be authenticated. Now in that case it will not work here. So in Samba there is a file tbdsam. In that file we will store the information about these users, like the username and the password, as a NTLM version 2 hashing algorithm, so that when you try to access it from the Windows machine and you send the username and password from Windows system by hashing by using the NTLM version 2 hash, so it will match here from this file. Now that means if we want to give access to any user to access from the Windows machine to access the Samba share, that means we have to add that user into tbdsam file. That means we have to create the Windows style hashing password for that user which we want to give the access for Samba share, and that passwords will be stored into that file. So this is the database tdbsam. This has all the information about the passwords. So this is the configuration. This is domain section, domain controller section. We are not enabling anything from here. Browser control is need to be configured, the domain controller. Then the name resolution, if you want to enable the name resolution, by default it is going to use the NetBIOS and DNS also. If you want to enable the Win server, these Win servers were used in the Windows NT environment. So if you want to enable the Win support, so you can enable this. Right now we don't, nobody uses Win, but by default it uses the DNS to do the name resolution. Then in the printing section we have the printer enable. That means we can see the printer is allowed, it is loading the printer, and the printer is going to be shared as a raw. Now if we have any printer connected to this Linux share, this Linux server, then it is going to be shared with the other with the Windows the server which is going to be shared in the workgroup, and if any server, any other machine is accessing this server for the shares, then it can see see that printer. It is by default share. If you don't want to share this, then you can comment these things. Then here last we have the file system option, and these are the file system options for these shares. And here we have the share definition. Now if we want to share any directory, then we have to add the information into this share definition. And by default we can see the home directory for all the users is already shared. So the home directories for the users are already shared, and then printer is already shared. As I said, this is the option for printing the sharing the printer. Then this section is required when you configure this server as a domain controller, and also this section will be required when we configure this server as a domain controller, so we can create the roaming profile for the domain users. Now this is the sample for sharing your normal directories. So if we want to share any directory, then we can use this option. So I want to share my directory, so I will put my section here. I will comment it here so that I will know that what I have done here, and I will say this is my share directory. So commenting is a good option. Like whenever you create something, you should do the comment so that you know what you have done. Now here first I will mention the section by using these brackets. Like I say, this is my share, and this will be the sharing name. This will be the sharing name. In Windows, when we share the directory, we can also see the sharing name, and by default the sharing name is the same as the directory name, but it can be different. The main directory name can be different than the share name. This name it will show when someone try to access the share. Then you can put the comment. These comments are for you, like why you have shared this, and for whom you have shared this. So this is, I will say, this is for public use. So whenever I see the share, so I know that why I have created this. Then I will add the path here. Now here in the path we have to mention the correct path for the share. So our share is / and the directory name is smb share. Then we have to define the access for the share. So for example, I want to give public yes. Now the public yes means I'm giving access to all the users, everyone. In Windows it is like selecting everyone. Then what permission I want to give, so I will say I want to give writable, and I want to say yes. Now that means I'm giving the right permission to everyone. It is like I'm giving right permission to everyone. In Windows by default we do the everyone, we select the everyone and say right permission. So it is like that. So I'm not giving any other permission. I'm sharing the directory with everyone. Anyone can access it, and everyone will get the right permission. So this is the configuration file, and what we have done, we have added the configuration here for sharing our directory with everyone. That means public is equal to yes, and everyone is getting the writable access. Okay, now what, I will save the file, and then I will start the service. I will check the services are running or not. So I will check the status for the service SMB and NMB. So it shows that both the services are not running. They are loaded but they are inactive, dead. So I want to start the services. So I will say systemctl start SMB and NMB, and both services is going to be started. Now when you check the status, so now both the services are started running, but by default they are disabled. So when next time when we boot the system, it will remain disabled. So I will enable these also, and for that I will give the command enable SMB and NMB, and now both the services are enabled by default. Now we have configured it, we have started the server. Before going into the client machine, going into the Windows Server machine to check the share, we will test our configuration by using the test perm command. This command will give you a brief information about what you have configured and whether it is having any error or not. So let's check this. So it says here that it is loading the configuration from this SMB config file, and this is the information, limit information, and it is processed the home section which is shared, then it has processed the printer section, then also the section which we created, that is my share, and loaded successfully. Everything is okay, and we can see the role for our server is standalone server, and it says press enter to dump the configuration definition. So I will press enter here. So it shows all the configuration which I configured. This is the global section, we have configured this. Then under the home section, for the home directory share, this is the option. For the printer share, this is the options, and this is what we have created. Now it is saying here that guest okay yes, that means we have allowed everyone, and read only no, that means we have given the right permission. Now before going to the client, we have to make sure the firewall is running, so we have to enable the Samba request for the firewall. So the firewall services are running, so we have to make sure we enable the firewall to we should allow the SMB, allow the Samba from firewall. So I'm going to allow it permanently, and I'm going to add the services Samba. And I'm going to reload the firewall so that the settings will be reloaded. Then if the SE Linux is running and also it is running on enforcing mode, so we have to make sure that it will allow to access the share. Now first, it is not going to allow this directory to be accessed, because if you check the label for the directory which we created, SMB share, it is default T. All the files are default T, and the directory itself is default T, because we have just created it under slash. So we have to make sure that the directory has the proper label, that is the Samba share T. So we have to add the label here on the directory as Samba share T. So we have to fix the label. We use the se manage command for f context, file context to be add, and T for the label, and that label will be Samba underscore share underscore T, and we are going to assign it on SMB share directory, like this. This is the way to assign the label permanently, and after that we will run the command restore con for recursively and forcefully, so that every file inside the directory will also be restored, and everything will be now changed. And now when we check, so now it is Samba share, the directory, and inside the directories all the files are okay. It is not changed. Let me restore again. Okay, this file must be also changed. Now after setting the label, one more thing we have to do, because the home directory of the users are already shared, so when you try to access it from the remote side, so the home directories will be also show. So when the user try to access it, it will show the home directory of that user also. And to check to open the home directory, it needs to be enabled, the boolean needs to be enabled for the home directory, otherwise it is not going to be allowed to access the home directory for user. So we can check that, get se bool, and we can see, we can grab Samba. So there are some booleans there which should be enabled, and it is also defined under the configuration file. So if we want to be we want to allow the users to access their home directory, we have to enable this boolean. It says the Samba enable home dirs, and if suppose we configured the server as a domain controller, so we need to enable this boolean. Then Samba create home dirs to allow to create the home directories. Then if we want to allow the read only permission, all for all read only permission, or for all read write permission, then we have to allow these booleans also. Okay, right now I'm not allowing it, or if I require, then I can enable this boolean, or I will enable this home directory boolean. So for enabling this, I will say set se bool permanently. I want to enable this Samba underscore enable underscore home underscore dir on. What spelling mistake? Okay, now it is enabled. Okay, I actually missed the S. Okay, now it is enabled, and we can check. So this boolean is also enabled. So we have configured all these things, and we have shared the directory. Now we will go to the Windows 10 machine and try to see the directory, try to access the directory. So this is our Windows 10 machine, and first I have to make sure that it is connected to server, our Linux server. So I will try to ping it by name, so that we can see the DNS is also working. So it is working, we are getting the reply, that means we are connected to the Linux server. Now when we check the properties of this PC, so this PC is in workgroup right now, and we can change the name here, rename this PC. We go to rename this PC, and it says here that the workgroup name is workgroup, but the workgroup name for our Linux environment is my group. So I will change this here. This is the default one in Windows. Whenever we configure, whenever we install the system, it will remain in workgroup, and the workgroup name will be workgroup. Now our domain, our workgroup name is my workgroup, so I changed it to my workgroup, and it will take the reboot. So change the machine name in Linux, or you change the domain or workgroup, so you have to reboot it. Okay, after reboot, the name for the workgroup will be my group. Now it is started, and now it is under the same group. Now in Windows system, if you want to see the if you want to access the share, so we go to the Explorer here. This is our Windows Explorer, and under the Windows Explorer we go to this network. So when we select the network tab, it will show all the network machines, all the machines in the group. It will show all the machines from the same group. So you can see the machines here, and mostly it works by the NetBIOS name. So it sometimes does not work properly. The other option is to go to run, and give 2 backslashes and then give the IP address of the server which you want to access or the other machine which you want to access. So we can give the IP address or we can give the name also. And when we press enter, now it is asking for the credential. Remember, it is asking for the authenticated user who can access the share. Now we have the user accounts there, user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4. I will try one of that account, user 1, and give the password for that user 1, and it fails again. Now why it fails? Because remember, I told you that when you try to give the username and password from this Windows side, from the Windows machine, so it sends the credential with NTLM version 2 hashing, and that is not supported in Linux machine by default. So this user 1 is actually the normal user of Windows, the Linux machine, and information of that user is stored into the different files. Information of that users are under the etc passwd file. This is the information of the users. This is Windows style, this is Linux style, and the passwords are stored into different file, shadow file. But in Windows it is not like that. In Windows it is stored into the same file, password and username, and that is the same file, and it is stored with the NTLM version 2 hash. But here it uses the SHA 512-bit. So this is different. So it is not working. Users are there, but it is not accepting those users. So what we have to do, we have to add those users into SMB database. So that TDB SAM file, we have to add the user which user we want to give the access to the Samba share. So for that we will use the command smb passwd. This command is used to add the user into SMB database. -a for adding the user, and then you will mention the username. Now it is asking the password. Now this password is the password for the SMB share, and if the user wants to access the share, then it will give this password. So whatever the password we give here, it is going to be hashed as a Windows style, as a NTLM version 2, and that hash that will be stored into the TDB SAM file. I will add one more user 2, and this password is not necessary to be the same password of that normal user account. So we can use the different password also. So these two users we have added into these SMB database here under this Linux machine. pbb edit pbb edit -L. It is used to check the users which we added into the SMB this SMB database. So we added these two users, user 1 and user 2. We can list those users by using this pdb edit command. Now after adding this, now these users can access the Samba share from Windows machine or any other machine from this server, this Samba server. Again I will try to access the Samba share again, and again it is asking the password, username. So I will give user 1 password, the password we used to create, which we created on Samba share. And now we can see the directory which we created here. This is our directory which we created, and this is the user's home directory. So as I said, user's home directory is by default share, and also printers are also share, but there is no printer connected to that machine, so it is not showing any printer here. And because we have enabled the boolean, the user can go inside and user can access, user can create any file here. because it has permission. Okay, it is user 1. Okay, user 1 does not have permission because I have removed the permission from server. Let me check and create the permission. But okay, I will try to access it from user 2. Now this directory we have given the permission to edit, writable permission to everyone. So user 1 should also be created. So when you go to this directory and we'll try to create any file, it is not allowing you to create, even we have given the writable permission to everyone. Now why that is not able to create? Because the same way, because here the user is not able to create, because on this particular directory the local permissions are not allowing that any user to create. For example, so we have given the permission to the user, all the users to edit, but it is still not been edited, because if you check the permission of that directory which we shared, so it is only having the right permission for the owner user, and that is root, and all the other users are not having any permission, and that is why the other user is not able, any user is not able to create any file. So if we want the user 1 should able to create the files, or user 2, then we have to give them a right, and we can give them by using the setfscl command. Setfscl, or we can just give the other user and everyone is able to create. So I'm giving user specific, so I will go for user 1 read write execute on this assembly share directory. Then I will give user 2 also read write execute for all these all the directory, all the files. We can use the recursively, so that every file will also get the, they will get the permission to all the files also if we want. Now user 1 was also not able to create the directory, create the files in his own home directory, and that is because for some reason I have actually removed the permission for user 1. I have removed the right permission for user 1 itself. So I will fix this. It was, I did it for some reason. Now I have given the right permission for user to user on his own home directory, so it can do what, it can use it. Now all set. Now we'll go back to the client Windows 10 machine, and then we'll try to see whether the user is able to create or not. And I will try to access it again. And now remember, when I try to access it again, it is not asking me a username or password. Why? Because Windows do cache. Windows cache the username and password for ease of access. It will remain until I log out. And you can see it is giving me access for user 1, because the user 1's username and password is already cached. So when I go to home directory, now it can create a file here, because previously it was not having the permission. Now same as it was not having the permission on this directory also, those files were also not showing. Now when I try to create the file, it can create the file, because now we have given the permission to user 1, and we have given only the permission for user 1 and user 2. If any other user comes, they will not be able to create. Now for checking user 2, what we should do, we should log out from here and then log in again, so that it will clear the cache. And I will log in again. And now after logging, when I try to access it again, it is asking me the username and password. So I say, now this time I will say user 2, and the password for user 2, remember to give the Samba password, not the normal password. And we are getting the access, and we can check, it is also get the access of its own home directory. And this user, I think it is having the permission, I have not removed, so it can create any file here under his home directory. And also we have given permission to this my share directory also, so this user 2 can also create any file or directory here. Now we have accessed the share from Linux machine to Windows machine, and if we want to access the share from Windows machine to Linux machine, so we can do that also. And one more thing, we have given the permission, we have managed the permission from locally, that means locally from the Linux system, but also we can manage it from Samba share. We can also manage some permissions from the Samba share also. Like if suppose we have given on this directory, if suppose we have given the permission to everyone, if we have given the permission to everyone, right now we have given permission for some particular user, user 1 or user 2, but if we have given the permission to everyone and we want to manage the permission, so we can do it from Samba also. Like suppose we have given the permission to user 1 and 2, so we can also manage, like user 1 will get read permission, user 2 will get write permission or not. We can manage it from Samba share. We can manage this by using by changing it from the configuration file. But that is a share permission. This is the share permission, and we can manage the share permission also. Like for example, right now we have given everyone write permission, but if we like, then we can give only the permission to some users. So let's say I want to give only user 1 and 2 permissions, user 3 I will not give any permission. So I will do what? I will remove these lines, and this time I will say I want to have only valid users. So I will say valid users is equal to, now here you can mention only the valid users which you want to allow. So I want to allow user 1, user 2 and user 3. And if we want to allow the groups, so we can allow the groups by using this. You can see the sample here. If we want to allow the groups, instead of mentioning single users, then we can mention the group by using the this percentage sign. Otherwise, when you give a normal name, so it will take that name as a normal user. And if you want to mention the group, then we can mention the group by using the percentage sign and then group name. Or we can mention the domain name / the group name, whatever. So we said only allow, we allowed only user 1, 2 and 3, and then we want to give the write permission. So we say write list, and we want to give the write permission to only user 1. Then read permission, so we can say read list, and we can mention the name for that user which we want to give the read permission. Now user 3 we have not giving read write permission, so it will not get anything. It can still access, get the read write or whatever, so we can mention. I will not add this user 3 here, we'll go only for user 2, 1 and 2. So we can also manage the permission from here, from the Samba share, directly from Samba share. And because we did some changes, so we have to restart the service. We don't have to restart the whole server. Okay, we can check the test pump, and it says everything is okay, no wrong configurations. And we have set the valid users are user 1 and 2, and read permission for user 2 and write permission for user 1. We can test it from the client side. Now from here, if we try to access this again, now this has already cached the user's 2 credentials, so it is showing the user 2 access here. Now user 2 can access its home directory. It wants to create something, so it can create here. Now it will try to do this in this share. It can access, and it will try to create it. So it says access deny. Why? Because it is not having the write permission. Write permission we have given to user 1. So user 1 can do write, but user 2 cannot do write on that share. Now for accessing the user 1, we have to log out to clear the cache, and then we can see user 1 can write it. So if I want to see that, then I have to sign out from here and then re-sign in again, and then we will give the access. When we access, we will give the password of user 1. Now I will try again, and it will ask username, so I will say username user 1 and password for user 1, and now I'm getting the access from user 1, and user 1 has the write permission, so it can create anything here. So this is what we have accessed the share from Windows machine of the share which is we have shared from the Linux system. Now if we want to share something from this Windows machine and want to access it from the Linux machine, so we can do that. So I will create some share folder here. Let's say I will say this is Win10, and I will create some file here. This is for Linux, and okay, now what, I will share the directory. So Windows we want to share, so we have to right click on the directory, go to properties, sharing, advanced sharing, share this folder, and you can see this is the sharing name, and we can change the sharing name also. For permission, by default you see everyone here, that means public is equal to yes, so I will say yes, and writable yes, so it is going to be the right permission for every user. Now we are logged in as this user, and username is Win1, so we can access the share with the users we have in this system, so we can access the share with using that user account. So I will use it the Win1 account here to access the share. Now for accessing it from the Linux machine, we'll go to Linux machine now. So from Linux machine, first we should make sure that the machine is connected. This is the IP address of that system. Now for accessing it, we need what? Samba client tool. We need to have a Samba client package installed, and that package give you a client tools. These are the client tools which we can use to access the Samba share. So these tools are the tools which we use. Like for example, if you want to check the status of Samba share, we can use smb status command, and it shows the current status of our Samba share. Now this is for the server command, and it is to check the Samba share, who is accessing what, and right now what connections are running. And the client tool is smb tree tool. It asks the password, and it shows available machines in a work group. It is like selecting a network tab in Windows Explorer. So it shows what are the machines available in the network. So it is showing here that this is the work group, this is my group, and these two machines are in the work group. This is the Windows 10 machine, Win10, and this is our Linux machine. And in our Linux machine, it shows also that what share folders we have shared. It is not showing for Windows, but it will show for the Linux machine. So if we have other Linux machines running as a Samba server, so it will show those machines share folders also, and you can see it is showing that Samba string here. Now if we want to access the Samba share, so we have two options. we can access it directly like FTP style, or we can do what, we can access it by mounting that share here under this Linux machine. Remember, in Linux machine, if you are not having a graphical, then there is no option like go to Windows run and give two backslashes and press enter to get the Windows Explorer. Now here, if you want to access the share, we have to mount it here in this local directory. So I will create one local directory here so that I can mount the share here. I will create it for Windows. Now I'm going to mount the directory, the share directory here. And for using it, for mounting the directories, what we need is the package called CIFS util. We have to have this package installed, and if it is not installed, then it is not going to be mount. So we have to check this package is available or not. It is not installed, so I will say CIFS. CIFS is actually Common Internet File System, and the utilities are for the Common Internet File System utilities. So if we want to mount the package, so we have to, okay, it is installed actually. I have not given S here. It is utils. So it is actually installed, this CIFS utils. So you have to make sure that the package CIFS utils is installed, and if it is not installed, then you have to install it if you want to mount it. So we have the package installed, and then we have created the directory, so we can mount it. So for mounting it, we will use the command mount -t for type, and the type will be CIFS. CIFS, that means Common Internet File System. And then we will mention the server path here, that we want to mount the share from this directory, this server, and the name of the directory is what was the name? Win10 was the name, and we have to give it like this, Win10, and we want to mount it in our local directory, that is Win. And then we have to make sure the name, we have to give the name also, that means the username. So I will use the option O for username, and equal to the name of that user, which user authenticated user, which user account we want to access this share. So when you press enter, it will ask the password for this user account Win1. So we have to provide the password. Okay, it is saying host down. That means there is some problem here. Now what happened here, it shows the error. It says host down. And why it is saying the host down? Because it is actually version 2 it is trying. It is trying by default assembly version 2, but in latest versions of Windows 8, Windows 10, they have version 3, assembly version 3.0. 3.0, and even in server 2016 it is 3.0.1, 1.0. So it is not able to connect. It is saying host is down because the negotiation is failing. So what we have to do when we want to mount it, so we have to give the version also, because it is Windows 10, so we want to mount it, so we want to give the version 3.0. We want to say that, we have to say that use version 3.0, otherwise it is by default going to use version 2 or even version 1 it will try. And now it is mounted, and when we check the directory here, local directory, we can see the file. And if we create any file here, so it is going to be created on that share, and it is created on this Linux in Windows machine. So when we go to Windows machine, we can see that file which we created, and it is created here in this Windows machine. This is Linux. This file I was created because we have given the permission to all, so it is now created here. So this is what we have mounted it. Now if suppose we want to mount it permanently, or automatically, then we have to do what? We have to make the entry into the FSTF file. And in the FSTF file, what we do, we add the entry like this, that we this is the share location, the folder name, and we want to mount it on Win directory here. The type will be CIFS we add, and the options we will ask for the default options. But with that default option, we have to add the username, because whenever it try to access it, it will ask for the username. So we have to make sure the username is also there. That is Win1. I want to access it from Win1. Now it is also going to ask for the version, so I will say the version 3.0 I want to have. Then it is also going to ask for the password, so I will add the password also, that this is the password if you want to access. So this is how we added the entry, and this will be now permanently mount. So whenever our system reboots, it is going to be mount. It is going to be mount with this default with the default options. It is going to be mount with these other options: username, version, and the password also. We can verify by using the unmount first. Unmount the Win directory, and then we'll try to refresh the mount table. Without any error, it has refreshed, and we can check that it is already mounted, and we can see that files are there and it is mounted. We can see it is mounted. So in the configuration, in the FSTF file, we have given the entry like this. Then one more thing we can do, if you don't want to mount it permanently, you don't want to mount it every time, so you will not make any entry in the FSTF file. So you can access it temporarily also by using the SMB client option command. SMB client, you will give the username here like this, and then first you want to check, so you will mention it like this, and it will show you. Now again it is saying about this in negotiation failed because of the protocol version. So with this command also you have to mention the protocol version 3, otherwise it is not going to use. Now we can mention the version by using -m option, SMB version 3 here, and with this L option we can do what? We can list the directories available on that particular server. So I will say, so it shows that machine, this IP, this is Windows 10 machine, it is having these shares available, and this is the directory which is shared there. Now we want to get the access, so we can use this command to get the access. U for username, and then the URL for the directory, and it will give the access like the FTP. Provide the password for the user. Now we are connected to that directory by using the FTP style connection. Now when you list, it shows that the files are there. We can download the files by using the mget command, just like FTP. And we want to upload the files, so we can upload it from local directory if we want. Like for example, I want to upload this. So for uploading, input and the file name, and it is going to upload to server, and we can verify that the file is uploaded there. So if we don't want to mount the directory here permanently or temporary, so we can use this SMB client command to connect the server share, connect the share folder from the other machine, from the Windows machine or other Samba server. We can download and upload the files directly. So this is how the Samba server works, by sharing the directories from Windows to Linux and Linux to Windows.